Slovakia.
Yeah, it was 30 seconds away from that. But I think we need to respect him from a human level. He's got us to a final, got us to a semi-final. Not only that, but he's brought the squad together. And I remember you guys saying in interviews about the squads of the past, it was maybe Man United players on one side, Chelsea players, Arsenal players on the other side. He's brought everyone together. When we're talking about Southgate, we're not talking about him as a person. No. We're just talking about the tactics, which we think at times he could do a little bit better.
Frank, you've managed what, nearly 200 club games now? Must be quite lonely place out there on occasions. How different is it to actually being a player?
Yeah, it's different. The different pressures. I would say more pressure. I think you bear more responsibility yourself, and maybe publicly on the outside. And I think that can be challenging because you feel like your biggest effect you can have is through the week.
As a manager, we're sitting here dissecting stuff like we have before in the green room, etc., and here now. How much different is it when you're in the moment to make big decisions about tactics or individuals
in the game itself?
The game, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a different skill. And the problem as a manager is, I think that everyone, England is so magnified that everyone will have opinions on it. And
they're in the quarter-finals, but we've all been quite critical. I think people at home as well, perhaps expected more because of the quality. Is it a bit unfair?
In terms of performance, I don't think so. I think it's been quite, it's been valid. I think anybody who sees the game and understands football to any level would go, well, these players play very much different to where they are playing in England shirts. There's no fluidity or cohesion with this team at the moment, but they are getting results. And I think they've got to flip it within that squad. I've been in squads where we've been criticised. That's with England. We had it.
Well, we all have.
You've got to go, no. We're going to use this as that siege mentality now, and it's going to be us against you, and you're going to actually fire us up to get through and win this and shut you all up. And that's what we want.
We'd love to be shut up.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone at all questions how hard Gareth works. I think some of the questions arise around tactics and stuff. And you've been having a good look at England in and out of possession.
Yeah, Clip, I don't mind. There's not a problem being in the low block at times. That's not a problem when you stay compact and you don't jump at the wrong time. Now, this is good at this point. Phil jumps on a trigger pass, a long sideways pass. The problem here is that Kieran Trippier is late to go. He needs to get out there earlier to the wing-back. They're playing against a back three with Denmark. And the biggest thing you do not want to ever give this level of football is that central space. Yeah. If they can play through you and get into areas behind your midfield where they're now facing up your back four, that's the space you've given them there. So we're slightly off. We're off point at that point. Now, this is Slovakia, which is obviously after that. Now, this is a different one where you have to get up the pitch together quickly. That closes the spaces and makes your sprint distances less. But we don't do that. We're quite slow getting up. Now, the pressure up here is fine. What Declan Rice does, he thinks he's going to help because he wants to do it. It's probably because they're thinking we want to get up the pitch, but he ends up going up, and now all of a sudden we're isolated with a 4 against 3 at the back, and that's when you can have problems. And it's almost like, you know, when you're not having a great time, these things happen. 2 go for the same ball, then it drops. Kyle Walker decides he's worried about the player on the side, the runner goes through, and those things are a culmination of just being slightly off with the press, which is what they keep talking about.
I saw you pointing at something there. You spotted something else in that clip.
Yeah, I did. And I agree with 100% with what Frank's saying there. But sometimes there's individuals within that break it down. And I think Bellingham here, if you watch him here, the 22 plays around him, and I'm going to attach him to him here. And when you're a midfielder, one of the other senior midfielders should be really tutoring him there and saying, listen, you go with him, stay with him. He now has to adjust his position, Declan Rice. That's why he vacates that area that Frank was talking about. And then you see gaps and people having to place a domino effect of people being out of position. I think with Bellingham there, tactically, off the ball, little details can really affect it. And that's the first time, really, in that game that I saw a 21-year-old, because he's been outrageous in the last few years.
Well, that's why you need to talk, don't you? The leaders from the back, you can see the game, everything, and that's why you talk to your midfielders.
Typically, a defender is criticising the midfield.
You ever heard that before,
Never. I heard that voice many a time.
We're helping you become and look better players.
Thank you. What about when England have the ball? They've struggled.
Yeah, well, they have. And I think our XG's been low. We're not creating chances. And I think when I talk about organisation and structure and discipline, I think when you're in possession, it's more about freedom and movements and rotations. Now, here we're creating a 3 and a 2, and you'll see a lot of top teams do this now at the back end of the pitch. We have a 3 and 2, but the reason for that solid base is to get these attacking players, this 5 across the front line, on the ball, or to disrupt their back line so it's not an easy time for them, so we can try and get those players. Now, this moment here, John Stones, every week I see him play balls into Rodri. He turns and he fires it through into Phil Foden. Foden or into Bellingham. Mainu can do that. So maybe there's a tiny confidence issue in tight areas where we're not making those kind of passes. So you go, OK, so now we haven't made that pass. We start to play back on ourselves, and now we become pretty pressable. They're running onto us, and we're going backwards, and you can start to see a dejection in the front players, kind of walking, jogging back, like, OK, we're not flowing here. You're not getting the ball into us. So, OK, no problem. We start to look to build again. And now this has been something that we've seen a lot of. This is going out to Kieran Trippier, who's a right back. He doesn't really want to open up and play that ball. It's very easy for Slovakia to understand that. So, OK, we have to come back again. Now we get John Stones on the ball. Now we're back into a similar position. Now, my idea is you turn quickly and open out and use this wide triangle. It's a 3v2. If their defender wants to jump to Jude Bellingham, then Harry Kane should be going, I'm going to threaten that space behind you. That's what I mean about the rotations and different ideas. And then you see something that John Stones doesn't really do week in, week out. So something's not quite clicking there. We come back to a similar idea. Phil Foden's looking for that space. He spoke about wanting to be in there. He's making that run. I like that run, but the reality is we're not going to play that pass at the moment, and that's why maybe the system change will help. But when you look at this, we play. Now I'm looking at, can we hit the sides? Can we open up now? They've covered the middle. They've got 6 players there centrally. Now the side, Saka's one of the best wingers in the world, 1v1. Come and get it and drive. And if you're going to give us width, then it's Mainu now. It's normally Bellingham. Can you run behind and give their back four a problem? And at the minute now we're playing in front, and you can see Kyle Walker with his gestures that he's not happy. I'd like this. Foden makes the run, and now you have taken someone away, disrupt the back four, switch a play, but we don't play it. And that stinks to me of a little bit of like, are we not taking the risks enough? Or we're not opening out to give the other team a problem? So we stay on the ball. And again now, so we'll see like a series of slow sort of backwards, sideways passes where you go, we're not threatening. This is easy to defend against. They don't have to do much here, Slovakia, because we're playing in front of them. Now, here you see again, they've blocked the middle. Jude Bellingham's trying to get free. He's finding it hard to get through, and that's my point about trying to hit the sides more, and you see his frustration. Yeah. But you have to say, OK, we'll keep going, that we're trying to make that run again and push them back. We stand in that half, which feels like control, but how much control is it? Where's our threat? How are we giving them a problem? And then again here, probably a few too many touches, and you look at this and I go, the space is on the side, clearly. So can Jude pop out onto the side and receive and drive? Can Saka make that run that he makes for Arsenal every week and gives you a real problem? But he's up there on the left side, and you end up getting a disallowed goal because it's slightly offside. So that is the positive. Yeah. This team can do that. Just a bit more freedom and rotation.
Trust as well, Frank.
Confidence and trust in each other.
Play the ball to someone who's marked. Like the Spain team are so good in this tournament and stand out. Yeah. Yes, tactically they've got all those things you're saying, but there's trust in individuals to say you're marked, but I'll play it to you because I know it's going to drag people out of position to then play in the spaces you leave. But confidence as well.
Exactly. Jude Bellingham described the Slovakia win as an emotional roller coaster. That was certainly the case for England fans who must have thought their team was coming home.
Who doesn't want to play fullback. I've been in that position before, of being a winger, playing wing back. And if anything, you're coming onto the ball, you're staying out wide, you're always occupying your fullback. So for me, I feel that's a positive stance, and I feel like England can't get any worse.
Can this get the best out of their attackers? You mentioned Bukayo Saka there, but what about the players in front of him?
I think it's really important as well. We've got to remember we've got two incredible players in Phil Foden and Bellingham, not to get in each other's way as well. Again, my experience, I've played in that 10 position. I'm not a 10, but what I did sort of contribute to the team was making those unselfish runs, and one of them at times has got to make those runs in behind. They can't always just overcrowd that space, and Kane needs to occupy the centre half as well and not sort of get bored in the game and try and get touches. So that's the key where I feel like they would have worked on this week. They have plenty of time to work on it. I know it's been a couple of years since they've actually played it against now a team that have probably doing it the best at this moment in time. And when I say team, they're a team. And we're a bunch of individuals at this moment in time, and we need to become a team, and I feel like today will be.
Balance is something that we talk about a lot with this England side. Do you feel like playing Bukayo Saka, that was excellent timing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you feel like playing Bukayo Saka in that wing-back role will give England a bit more balance?
I really do, and what I think was really fascinating today, we're probably going to see the best out of Harry Kane, because, again, I look at the tournament, we've seen a lot of these inverted wingers. And look, I was an old-school winger who'd like to go on the outside and put it into a space for my forward to attack. You're not going to have Kane now. He's going to time his runs to perfection because you've got the balance with the left. And I mean, the guys have just come out here. And you've got obviously Trippier who can distribute the ball to incredible sort of places. So, look, I think it's a positive move. I think at times Harry Kane is going to have to, like I say, and you've got Bellingham as well who's going to make those late runs in. So
Thanks, Kelly. Here is the Switzerland team news. Sommer is in goal for a side which is unchanged from the win against Italy. Centre-back Rodriguez pushed forward against the Azzurri, having 79 touches, the second highest total for his team. Captain Xhaka has been nursing an injury but plays alongside Bologna trio Ndoye, Freuler and Abisha, who between them have scored or assisted 5 of Switzerland's 7 goals at this tournament. Attacking midfielder Vargas was man of the match in the last game, while striker Mbolo scored when the Swiss played England 2 years ago. Switzerland have never reached the semi-finals of either the Euros or World Cup. There is, though, one Swiss star who very rarely found the net but still cleaned up at the major tournaments.
Hello, class of 2024. This is so exciting. You've worked so hard to get here. Effortless is a myth. I say that as someone who has heard that word a lot. Effortless. Pure talent alone. I got there by trying.
Switzerland, what are their strengths?
I think they work as a team. They can rotate. They're very flexible. But just keep an eye on Abisha's position here, who goes across from the wing-back position into the number 10. You've got Ndoye, Widmer, and Freuler. That's your centre mid. They all trust what each other needs to do. So if one wide, one comes in, and the other one goes in behind. Okay, they recycle the ball. It comes all the way back out to Akanji. And now your centre-half is used to playing centre mid for Man City. Can he find the pass? There's your wing-back, Abisha, in a possible pocket of space, and now he's looked already. He knows exactly where he wants to play the ball and do a finishes off. This one is absolutely brilliant. Down the left-hand side, you've got Rodriguez, centre-back, Abisha, wing-back, and Vargas. What Abisha is going to do here, this was against Scotland. He's going to make the run across, and now the fullback has to drop. The centre-back is looking, so he has to drop. That leaves the space for Vargas. And this is the left of the free centre-half, overlapping on the left-hand side, who puts it across. They have numbers, men forward. You've got Widmer at the back. But the most impressive thing for me in this bit is the free bit here, now. You've got Xhaka, Akanji, and Shah, just for your protection for the counter-attack. And then this is how they dismantled Italy. Again, we've been in that position, Rio, where you might go back. No, it's about being brave on the ball, recycling the ball. Can someone come free? And ball comes to the ball, and now it's about rotations. One comes in, gives the ball, one goes wide, and Bowler makes a run. That leaves the space for Freuler. And this team, I've been so impressed with the way they're able to break teams down. Where they're starting a mid-block, they can go into a low block, but they also can press high. And I think for England today, if they want to hurt this team, they've got to put Saka really high, they've got to put Trippier really high as well to leave the freedom for a Bellingham and a Foden in the centre of that pitch.
All right, Yakin, you saw there getting the Swiss fans going. I've watched a lot of Bayer Leverkusen this season. I see a lot of this in this team, and I think Granit Xhaka is a key part of that, as he was for Bayer Leverkusen all season.
Absolutely. I think we know him from his time in the Premier League. Lots of questions about him a few years ago now. And what I like is the character. I think to someone to have sort of not turned their career around, but had this improvement, and now he's an experienced player, and the way that he controls the game, you can see that with the formation. Micah talked about those things. He's the one who's driving it. He's the one who's like, I'm going to stay and make it a back three and squeeze us up. He knows this system from the season at Leverkusen. He affects people, and he also has become really progressive with his passing. He plays through lines. We talk about taking risks. He's a player that will take calculated risks to play through lines. I think he's an outstanding leader. Full credit to him, and he's obviously their main man, really, in a sense.
There's some players that coach well in the game. He's one of those players that, if there's problems, he identifies them quickly and he finds a solution, whether it's through him or just communicating to somebody else. Adjust yourself, adjust your position. Very vocal, very animated, but very effective with the way he plays.
His replacement at Arsenal, Declan Rice, he's had a great season at Arsenal, but he's found it.
Arsenal shirt. When he's in an Arsenal shirt, he's got players closer to him. There's more of a cohesive unit. There's a real structure and understanding of the way that they play. And he can find people, and the solutions are there. He can play blind almost. England shirt, we've been talking about how the system seems blocked. There's no cohesion in this team, so it's going to make his numbers look very different to opposing team players.
I think Declan's strengths, this physical strength, the way he can drive with the ball. Yeah. Sometimes there are players, I think that they're almost better when they play against better opposition. Kante was one at Chelsea. Always lifted his game because he's got so many attributes. So I think sometimes he had a bit of time on the ball. His attributes today, and hopefully as we progress through the tournament, can be even more important because of his physical power as well.
Mike, it's all slightly negative. Give us some hope. We're making them sound like 1970 Brazil. You found a possible weakness.
Yeah, I just think that down their right-hand side, I've just got a few clips here. And what they do when they're defending, they go really narrow. And if you look at Rodriguez of Circle and Abisha, they don't defend the back post really well. So for England today, they need to get the ball and play it quickly. Again, the ball comes wide. They all go together, they know their roles, but they do allow you to put the ball in the box, which leads, obviously, to a goal. And it happened so many times in the Germany game, this left-hand channel. If you do it quickly, this time it's Rodriguez and Vargas not picking up. But against Scotland, this is what England could do today. We're talking about breaking and playing in between the lines. If our number 10s can get hold of it as soon as possible, and then what they do, they run back within numbers, they get men back, but no problem. But they do leave the space. They're going to cut back on the edge of the box. They've got men in the box. There, of course, it's a little bit lucky, but in terms of what England can do today, I just think that is an area you need to pinpoint.
I wonder what's...
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream. What would you do? Well, first of all, I'm quite sure that most of us would dream all the marvelous things we wanted to happen. We would fulfill all our wishes. But after you had done that for a few months, you might begin to get a little tired of it. And you would say, what about an adventure tonight? In which something terribly exciting and rather dangerous is going to happen. But I'll know I'm dreaming, so it won't be too bad. And I'll wake up if it gets too serious. And then when you've done that for some time, you say, now let's go out a bit further. Let's forget it's a dream and have a real thrill. But you know you'll wake up. After you've done that for a while, you get...
I think they'll be working on training, won't they, on pressing at times, but I think just because of the manager and his style of play, I think it's just embedded in them. If they go goal up, maybe they'll go a little bit deeper. Don't forget, Trippier has been playing left back as well. He's right-footed, so it's been a little bit more difficult for him. I expected him to go up and down. But I was with him at Man City as a young boy. I knew he had everything in his locker. I'm just glad he's getting an opportunity to go and play wing-back, a position that suits him. A little bit disappointed that Trent Alexander-Arnold's not playing, because I think that would suit him.
Particularly as
today.
Walker's there to cover for him.
Exactly that. But let's hope the press can be better within this system.
Yeah, and the Swiss are strong down the left-hand side as well. Jordan Pickford, Rio, obviously you can't question his goalkeeper, and he's never let England...
Bit of responsibility for them as well. Give me the ball. But look at the gesturing from Stones, telling Gallagher where to go. Gallagher's saying, no, you do it maybe. A little bit of misunderstanding, not really knowing what to do. So, yeah, OK, Jordan goes long. But look at the distance from back to front there. When you're the good teams, you look at the good teams, they all play with 10, 15, 20 yards between players so they can all find each other. Right, the ball turns back over into the goalkeeper's hands again. Surely that's not the plan of action here. There's easy passes on here. They're there, look, your centre-halves are there. Again, I feel they have to be demanding that, but also what's the demand from the coaching staff? This is what we meant to be going long to Saka, who I wouldn't say is the one you'd identify as being good in the air. Ball turnover again. Here, look, Gaze on against Stone. These are easy balls. Keep possession, maintain possession. You can see Declan there saying, chill, relax. He's gone for the big one to try and get Trippier in there. Doesn't come over, but again, it's a turnover. International football, we've been there. You need to keep the ball. You need to make sure you maintain possession. Sometimes it's your rest period on the ball. Again, and I haven't seen a team come at us and press us really high like we see in the Premier League. So this shouldn't be difficult to do this. And I think sometimes you just need maybe a trigger, or you need a little telling from the manager, listen, hey, hold on, we can play. This is going to be a long ball to Tony, so I get it. Go to long to Tony, he's good at this. But then the detail on the ball has to be right. If you're going to under-hit this, it makes it almost impossible for a defender. You have to come through the forward and make a foul, and Tony's great at that, so's Kane. But you go long, again, turnover of possession. This guy in an England shirt, like I say, has been, you couldn't say he's been bad in an English shirt, he's been tremendous. But these details maybe separate us from being a team that is out of control in games to actually then controlling the game. He's the starting point of that.
You had him at Everton.
Yeah.
He likes to kick it long.
He does. He's got great range.
But he's capable of playing.
He can play. He can play short for sure. And I think it's just, as Rio spoke very well there, about picking the right moments when there's not high pressure. You can build up the pitch by playing short. We would use it as a weapon. Sometimes you've got great range, like the Tony clip there. You go, well, there's an understanding. This is why we're doing it. But to play long when the team's stretched, just turn up and possession is key at this level.
Yeah. Harry Kane scored a couple of...
You'll be playing.
Well, I've played this system many times for England, and I think the key is that first and foremost you've got to stay as high up the pitch as possibly can. Now, I know Harry live, so your striker needs to be as high as he possibly can. Now, in an ideal world, especially when you've got a box of 4 in the middle, you've got to create space for them as a striker. If you go into it, there's even more crowded. So what Harry's got to do is really try and spin. Now, I know this is not really his game, so sometimes tactically you could make an argument that someone like Ollie Watkins will be better suited for the way we're playing, because he will make breaks down there, and you can press high, and you can get the team up in the pitch. But I think it's Harry's responsibility really to stay as high as he can. If he can turn, and I know he can play that way, or he doesn't like to play that way, and he's looked a little bit leggy in this tournament. But I think he's absolutely duty-bound to stay as high as he possibly can.
I think the alternative to that, though, is when you've got 2 10s in there, like a Foden and a Jude, one of those has to run forward if Kane drops.
Them, that's not really their game, is it? They both like to get it on the half-turn. They both like to go at people. I mean, when he was at Tottenham, he had Son, obviously, and even Dele Alli that would run beyond him.
But how hard is it to be disciplined, though, in that role? You're saying to stay in what Switzerland could do, and England have just not allowed them to do the rotations, dropping into positions, playing the right passes. They've had no shots on target, Switzerland. So England are doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Micah, Foden in the 10. We've all been asking for it. That is the difference.
We've been crying
That's
out
one of the
for
biggest
it.
difference.
We've been crying out for it. Frank, you're a midfielder. I mean, talk to us about Foden. It's delightful to see him in a position where he can have an impact on the game.
Well, I think the change in system has been a big deal. The balance it has given us as a team, and it's allowed Phil, he said it before the game, he feels more comfortable with the idea of starting central, but he hasn't just stayed in one position, he's moving around the pitch. He gives up as well, but I think those two, in terms of coming back and just being in control, understanding that I'm in control, I've had a great season, now I'm allowed to, I'm not trying to hug the line and come off the line, central. And then now, that's when Saka knows he can make a run, because he knows the quality of the player. And we spoke before the game about, can we break defensive lines? It's even harder against the back 5 to do that. But when he's central, he's a man that can do it.
He gets on the half turn. Every time he receives the ball, he's turned with his head up. So people are going to run, like you say. We haven't seen Saka run behind in the whole tournament. Why? Because people aren't getting the ball in that position who he thinks can get him the ball.
He's one of the best number 10s, if not the best number 10 in world football, in playing in that way. So, you know, and he just felt like he was locked up on that.
But what it allows him to do, though, so when he was playing on the left and he was trying to go central, it was too congested in there. And sometimes he was receiving the ball too deep on the left. When he's playing central, even if he can't get between the lines, he can still drop deep and dictate play from a deeper role. That's why it's imperative he plays in a number 10 position.
It also massively helps that the whole team has played higher up the pitch. Harry Kane has stayed high, as we talked about, mostly in that game in the first half. Really important, even if he's not involved in the game that much, it helps everybody behind him, because it creates the space for them, doesn't it, as well? Yeah. And the press for England has been really important as well.
I think we see here, yes, they can. This is the first one. They get it wrong, but they quickly learn. But they get it wrong, and they get given a little taste of what could come if they don't get this right. Yes, you see the overload then. It's 4 against 3. Because they didn't go in on that first ball and close him down and they allowed him to turn. This is when problems come. They got a goal very similar to this in the game before. by third men running from deep. Here again they go. The trigger, yes. A speculative ball, but Declan's high enough to be able to anticipate and then jump from a good position. And then you get opportunities like this. Kane lays it back to Maino, great strike, gets blocked, but just to make different decisions. Again, speculative ball, hard to deal with. The first one, it didn't go in. Yes, they go in. Stones goes in. Mainu then gets it. Look at this kid when he's under a bit of pressure. Doesn't come out to nothing, but he's drawing people to him. And we get in these positions to attack based on the press. And this is what you want to see. We see these players do this week in, week out with their clubs. Now we're seeing it for a half of football in England. Look at the numbers there. If you win that there, you get chances at goal. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, this is what all the best teams do. They counter-press because they've got so many numbers up the pitch and control. It's something we've lacked through the tournament so far, but now you're seeing it. When you have the numbers and you have the intention, there is an element of risk, like we saw the first clip that they played through, but you have to risk that slightly. You have to be brave. You have to be brave and understand they can play back for you.
I mean, people at home might be saying, well, we haven't created that many chances or anything, but it's significantly better. No shots on target, but 2 or 3 block shots, and you wear teams down this way, don't you?
And you higher up.
Exactly.
That's the thing, higher up, play the key passes, and there have been a lot more forward passes as well. I think Pickford, you did analysis before the game, kicking it long. I think actually, apart from the first minute in the game, he was actually playing delicate passes into the midfield.
It's great that they got the TV in the change room and they watch the analysis. It's brilliant. I love it. I love that.
It's nice to be able to be positive, and I think we should definitely be positive about Konsa. Ezri Konsa, I mean,
the biggest games of his career, if not, it's can you control your nerves? Can you do the basics very well? And he's done all of these things. I mean, especially when for Aston Villa this season he had to play at right back a lot of the season. I think his body shape here wasn't great, and then he gets it right. A wonderful header away. He sees a danger, and then can you get tight? Can you get tight against Mbolo, who's obviously a strong boy? He waits for the help from Declan Rice. And then his positioning has been great, and then this is why they've had no shots on target, because he's putting his body on the line. And I just think his overall game has been fantastic, just capped off by that right position, seeing the ball out, and he's been excellent. He really has.
All of those clips are wonderful. One of the biggest things for a centre-back in this situation, when you come in like this, is concentration. You have to remain focused and concentration on the job. Don't complicate things like he hasn't, and continue in that vein.
Yeah. We've seen terrific performance in the first half. Obviously, you can mention Saka. Bellingham's been all over the place. But Kobbie Mainoo, I mean, really.
Is he 18?
Yeah, just he's 19. He turned 19 2 months ago.
It's outrageous.
Second youngest player for England to play in a quarter-final, the other Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, he just doesn't look like a teenager. He looks like he's almost like a
experienced pro.
He's a prefect with the young kids in a school, and just saying, this is what you do, this is how you do it. Just give the ball to me, and I'll lend it here and there. He plays with a maturity way beyond these years. He makes the right decisions more often than not. This was rocketing on target, I'm sure. But it's just a cool and calmness. And what I've loved, that was a joke, took 3 players out of the game, but what I've loved is the way that he's dovetailed and rotated with Phil Foden. At times he's the number 10, then he comes back into the 6 or the 8, and he's so comfortable in either of those positions. And I've just loved the relationship he seemed to have built in this first 45 with Phil Foden.
I think we spoke before the game, and obviously he gets his chances of great tackle here, otherwise he's scoring there probably, but we spoke before the game about England looking a little bit rigid, a little bit positional, and that's the main thing for me. The system gives them better balance, but within that, good players, even at just turned 19, know to work off other good players. And now you're seeing him and Phil Foden, particularly in that half, where they go, OK, well, Phil, you're dropping deep, OK, I'll go and stand behind the midfield.
Yeah. I mean, now it's half-time, obviously, and the manager's going to say more of the same, because we've seen in other games where England start that way, not so much complete 45 minutes, first game, for example, 30 minutes, and then back off. It's very important, isn't it, that they maintain this?
Yeah, definitely. Just keep turning the screw. I think we saw enough in that first half. Again, based off of the shape to go and press, we're getting good rewards, and continue that. But you just want the end product. You want the final third decision making, just to maybe improve a bit more decisive, and then I'll see a goal coming.
But I don't think they should worry about the lack of chances too much, but a couple of half chances, because when you play against an organised back 5, it's really hard to create. That's why I think they've got to understand Saka there was so dangerous. It's like, how many times can we get him on the ball? Can we isolate him? Can he run behind? Keep trying to break that back line. It's not easy, and stay consistent with it.
Saka's burst into life into the first half.
Well, we thought, in this system, we play wing-back. Would he play on the left? But he's actually playing in a comfortable position on this right. We've seen week in, week out, for Arsenal. And Abisha doesn't know what to do at all, whether he goes inside, crossing in the box, whether he goes outside. And it's helped the team because the team are higher up, and that's what we're talking about, and this is what we want to see. He's been absolutely brilliant, the right way to pass, and then the movement and the rotation on that side of the field. And like the guy said with a pass with Foden there, everything he's done has been creative and lively, Frank.
Yeah, this is the player we know. You know, he's been one of the best wingers, I think, in world football for the last couple. What he's doing at Arsenal, and now it feels like this. Whatever the change has been, but he's got people nearer him. He's got Kyle Walker there underlapping him at one point, which just attracts a bit of attention away from him. And you do not want to be one-on-one against him. He's so good at it.
We talked before the game, didn't we, how important it was that England's two wing-backs were high and not get dragged back into a back five. They've certainly done that.
Yeah, and all those clips there, you would never, ever suggest that he's a wing-back. And that's the difference. And I think you have to... We were scared it could be a back five. Every time they get the ball, he's standing out on the right wing and saying, right, give me the opportunity to get 1v1. The switch early creates that opportunity, and they're doing it well.
Encouraging. A little bit to smile about so far.